Yeah, g'day guys. If you're looking to buy a hoist for your workshop, this is the video for you. Here we go. So, you want a hoist. I got a hoist, but I had a few little issues. So, I want to sort of share those with you guys to make sure you guys don't have the same sort of trouble I did. Yeah, so the first thing on the list is what do you actually need a hoist for anyway? You can always just get jack stands or trolley jack, or you can, I don't know, climb under it if you really want, or if you've got a big 4B, it's not so hard, you get under there. So you've got to work out what you actually need hoist for. So the first sort of part of it would be to consider, are you lifting 4 drives, or are you going to just lift little race cars, or you need it for storage, like to stack a car underneath, like lift it up and put another one underneath. So you got to think about those kind of things. So that'd be probably the first thing you do before you even inquire with, how much or where or whatever. So yeah, work out what you need it for. Yeah, so number 2 on the list of importance, you could nearly make this one the first one. Actually ask an installer. An installer that does these things day in, day out, and he might be able to guide you more. So he might be able to guide you on which way to go with what sort of a hoist. Do you need a clear floor? Do you need a 4-ton, a 5-ton? Do you need a commercial lift if you're going to work out of your garage full time so it has more cycles? Or do you just want a hobby one, or one like mine? So actually ask an installer, and not just what type of lift, but the quality of the build. A lot of, especially the hobby sort of style lifts, are now all manufactured in China, which is fine, but to different standards and out of different factories. So ask an actual installer on which one they have less issues with, like less callbacks, less servicing problems and things like that. Not a salesperson. You can ring a company and go, and they'll tell you, yeah, we got the best hoist, so you should buy ours and it's the cheapest, or for whatever reason. But I would have liked to have talked to an installer first. Now I got pretty lucky. This is quite a good quality hoist, and very low amount of issues from what he tells me on this particular brand. So talk to an installer on, especially an installer that doesn't sell them, because if he may have a hidden agenda to sell you a particular hoist. That'd be number 2. Ask an installer those kind of things. Which is the best lift for your application once you work out which one you want. So that's number 2. Item number 3 would have to be power supply. So in Australia, you've got 240 volt, which is standard single phase power supply. If you go to a bigger industrial sized machine, you will need 3-phase. So it would lift more, bigger motor and things like that. So if you're using a single phase, these are the 2 plugs that are currently available. Sorry, there we go. This one is only a 10 amp plug, and it's always determined by the size of the earth pin. As you can see, the earth pin on the 15 amp plug is much more substantial. For a single phase install, you will need this size power point for this to go into. Okay, so this is a 15 amp dedicated single phase power point. You can see under the switch there it says 15 amp, and the actual earth pin at the bottom there, if you can focus on that, there we go, camera. So that is a dedicated 15 amp right next to the circuit board power point. You can get them installed wherever you want, in your shed or your property or whatever, but if you compare it to the standard little 10 amp one, if you look at the bottom earth pin, it's much more substantial, and you'll find you'll never get a double, like this is a double power point with a light switch in the middle, but you'll never get a 15 amp double because they need more power. So that's number 3, power supply. Be very mindful. Okay, item number 4 would have to be the height in your workshop. Something that not a lot of people sort of think about. They go, oh yeah, I want to put a hoist in there and lift up a car. Yeah, that's all good, and mine certainly, it fits, and I've got a fair bit of height. So this is the pamphlet for this particular hoist, and you know, they've done they do make quite a good hoist, but not necessarily you have to buy them. But they've given us overall widths and overall height dimensions. Now it does have two dimensions there, and this one is adjustable to the lower height if need be. I've got it to the higher height, 3821 or thereabouts, but you can go a little bit lower if you only have, you know, not quite 4 meters in your shed, where right at the very peak I do have 4 meters. Now I've just gone a little bit off center, and that's just to allow for the size vehicles that I put in here, like the length of vehicles, and I've got a big workbench at the end there. So if I didn't have that workbench, the shed would be ideal in size. You can get short squat lifts, you can get just like scissor lift type lifts. There's all sorts of types that you can get, so that's just another question that you can ask your installer or the company that does supply them. I personally like to talk to the installer first, but so height would be the thing that you need to think about. So that's number 4. So the next thing that you need to take into consideration, which I thought everything was just fine with my install. Well, I purchased the hoist and everything, did everything right, and it was the quality or the thickness. No, the thickness was more the issue of the concrete. Your concrete floor. There was quite a few things that I didn't even think about it. I thought, yeah, no, it's a nice big shed, there's no major cracks in it, so it should be fine. So I thought it was alright, but the install was delayed by a good month because I didn't take into consideration the quality and the thickness of the concrete. If you have a look in the clip there, it'll show you a few of the things that I had to do. I had to cut it all out and dig it deeper, and then put more steel in there, connect it to the slab that we got, then like with the steel, connect the steel to the slab that we got, and then we did the concrete. Now I went much stronger concrete than was required, mainly because I had a shorter time frame. So if you talk to the technical part of the concrete company you're getting supplied, or that is supplying your concrete, and you're pushed for time, like I was, you can use a much higher strength concrete which will go off quicker. Now the concrete that I use is 40 MPa. In Australia we go by MPa. Requirement was just over 20 MPa, and I went 40 MPa because the cure time in 14 days is 65%. So 65% of the full strength in 2 weeks, and that was the time frame I needed. So I went with much stronger. So it's going to be double the strength that I'm ever going to need now that it's gone past the 28-day cure period. Be very, very mindful of the concrete in your workshop, or if you're in like a factory, like a big industrial. If you're in a big industrial sort of a situation, and you know, it'd be something very unusual for them not to have a minimum of 200 mil or 8-inch concrete. And this particular hoist, because it's a clear floor and there's no big support legs or anything like that, we needed a minimum of 150 mil. So we needed 6 inches at least, and this wasn't even 100. So that is number 5. So that's the 5 things that I think I wish I knew before I even purchased or thought about getting a hoist. You got to work, like if you do a list just here, number 1 would have to be work out what you need. What do you really need it for? How often you're going to use it? Is it more for a commercial sort of application, or is it just hobby, or is it just going to be to fit an extra car in? So that's number 1. And number 2 is speak to an installer, not a salesperson, because a salesperson has an agenda and they just want to sell you a hoist. They don't care which one. So an installer will give you certainly the best advice on which way to go, on which brands, not just the one that you ring, and make sure the installer doesn't actually sell them. That would be a bonus. So that's number 2. Power supply, be very mindful of, like here in Australia with single phase and 3 phase, 10 amp, 15 amp, all those kind of things. So that's kind of really crucial. Here we don't get three-phase, it's not even in our street, so we can't get anything that has a three-phase application. So that's number 3. Number 4 is check your height. See how much room you got. So if you got plenty of height, it doesn't matter, you can use the full height hoist like this one. But if you've got a general garage in your house and you want to hoist in there, you can still do them. They're just a much shorter unit and you won't quite get as much lift where you need it to be. So that's number 4. And number 5, right at the bottom here. Concrete slab thickness and quality. That is probably the most, well, it's probably the easiest thing to get tripped up on, and it was something I didn't even think about. So I thought, yeah, nah, my slab's good, but don't be proud. Actually drill a hole and see if it is any good, because I could have saved a few weeks on the install. I had to get the installer to come back, and he had to come back and finish the job for me, and that was an extra call out. So something you don't need. So if you're, especially if you're pushed for time, I wasn't pushed for time, I just wanted it done. You know, instant mentality. So that's got to be my 5 things I wish I knew. If you saw value in this video, certainly subscribe. I have all sorts of weird and wonderful things that I plan to use this hoist for. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you guys. Yeah, so always consider what you need your hoist to do. I always kind of pick the biggest vehicle I got and work it from there, so yeah, that's what you do. Pretty important. Make sure you get it right.